Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Today we have an update with Madre Gold and Silver. Joining us today are Alex Langer, CEO, and Greg Liller, Executive Chair and COO. Last week, the company released the Q1 results, which are the first quarter of commercial operations at the La Guitarra Silver Gold Project in Mexico. The format of today's session will be a brief update followed by Q&A. So if you have questions, please put them into the comments box on the right-hand side of your screen. And as always, before we begin, today's presentation will contain forward-looking statements. You can learn more about those in the presentation on the company's website. And with that out of the way, welcome Alex, welcome Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks, Magda.
Good to see you.
Great. Yeah, no, so we've been pretty busy. I think it's a pretty good timing. I think last time we gave everyone an update in this format was in January. So we did announce in January, obviously we hit commercial production on January 1st of this year, which is quite exciting. And we've since then released a couple financial updates. Obviously, our first one was the 2024 year-end results, which showed that we brought in some decent revenues even through the test mining process. But I think the highlight is our Q1 revenues for 2025, where we're actually now cash flow positive, which is a huge milestone for the company and something that we're very, very proud of. In Q1, we produced 165,000 ounces of silver equivalent in sales, which is a significant number. We're still ramping up. We're expecting that number to grow actually quite aggressively Q2 to Q3 as well. With that, cash flows should grow. Silver and gold prices have really been on our side, which is great. I think the other really important feature is our all-in sustaining costs. We're about $32 during test mining Q4, and we dropped that number just around $29 US all-in sustaining costs for Q1 of 2025. And again, we are expecting that number to come down over the next quarter and as well as in Q3. So again, accelerating growth for the next little while, which is good. We've been able to reinvest in the business as well. When we went into production, we did have a fair amount of rental vehicles within the fleet, which can be quite expensive. That really adds into your costs for producing silver and gold. So what we've been able to do is to buy some new equipment ourselves, which is really going to bring down that all-in sustaining cost as well. So we bought some machinery. We're going to be buying more. Things have gone really well. So we're really happy with things so far and looking forward to sharing Q2, which we expect to be better than Q1.
Thank you. And did you want to go through the deck or take a couple?
Oh, no, I think that's good. Yeah. We can maybe move over to questions and answers. Would be great.
All right. Thank you. So just your press release mentioned fine-tuning of mining and milling underway. Can you give us a little bit of detail on what's going on and the met tests that you're working on to fine-tune?
Well, we've brought Colosso online, which is a different type of ore. It's an andesite host instead of a granite. So it's got different recovery characteristics. So we've completed our first round of test work with an outside consultant. We are applying our own test work equipment to speed that up. But no, we're trying to get the optimum blend between Colosso ores and Guitarra ores. We've also activated, I think as of yesterday, the two cells in the WEMCO portion of our flotation circuit. We've only been using what we call the Denver cells thus far. But what we're going to do is take the concentrate from the Denver cells, put those through a couple of cells in the WEMCO circuit. It's called a scavenger circuit. So what we can do by that is upgrade our concentrate grades. And then the tail to that, so we don't lose any recovery there, goes right back into the Denver circuit. So the idea is to produce more concentrate with the Denver circuit at a lower grade to give us a lot more tons, and then clean it up some in the scavenger circuit. So ideally, if this works, we'll end up producing more concentrate, plus we'll increase our recoveries, overall recoveries within the circuit. So we've got that test underway. Like I said, we're testing for the ultimate blending. So there's a lot of ongoing met work And with that, we're also looking at perhaps adding a crusher down the line and producing a finer product, which should give us a lot more tonnage capacity going through the existing milling circuit. So we announced that we'd hired a new plant manager, superintendent, experienced metallurgist. He's got close to 20 years of plant management, flotation plant management. So he's got a lot of great ideas on how we can use our existing equipment or just with some small additions to add it. So there's going to be a lot of, I think, news coming out on that line.
Okay.
A few months.
Got it. Thank you. And I see some corporate questions. Would Sierra Madre potentially be a takeover target given First Majestic's position? Alex, you're on mute.
I guess, yeah, that's a fair question. They're by far our largest shareholder. They own 44.5% of Sierra Madre. They've been incredible shareholders for us and partners. They provided us with that $5 million loan, which let us get into test mining, which was amazing. I think at this stage, it's just too small. They're, you know, some of their mines, especially the Los Gatos acquisition, is incredible. It's producing, you know, huge amounts, almost 10 times what La Guitarra is doing currently right now. Having said that, you know, if we're able to prove out La Guitarra, like we think we can increase throughput. I think eventually, you know, Sierra Madre would be attractive for, you know, any group looking to add in cash flows and, you know, quite possibly a good amount of silver in reserves. So yeah, we'll see. I don't think that's happening or something like that would happen anytime soon. We do want to build our strategy. We think La Guitarra is a really special asset. So we do want to prove that out for quite a while before we would, you know, look at something maybe down the road.
Got it. Thank you. And what are your cash balances and what is the cash runway?
So currently with assets and everything, it's about 4.2 million US, which is great. And that includes receivables and sellable goods as well as cash. We're cash flow positive, so our runway is pretty big. You know, depends how long you want to push out the resources. Again, we don't have a PEA or feasibility study, but we do have close to 50 million ounces of silver equivalent in resources. So yeah, just depends on, you know, how we spend that capital, but we're really comfortable where we are right now. You know, this will allow us to keep working, keep pushing forward with the capital we do have. So it's we're in a really good position right now.
Got it. Thank you. And then just touching on the mining again, mining in resource versus out of resource. Do you have a sense of the fraction of the material currently being milled that's in resource and kind of how you expect this combo to change, you know, looking at the next year or two?
It's around 20 to 30% has come out of the areas that were in the 2023 resource. The other 70 to 80% has been a combination of retaques, the old backfill from the Lewisman days, and new discoveries. We're doing a lot of development on new veins. We've been pretty methodical in our mapping and development practices. And in the course of that, we've found the structures are a lot more complicated and actually consist of multiple structures. Whereas the resource just had, like for Donceñas, only one. We've now got what we call our D2 that's in production in, I think, 3 or 4 different stopes. We've just completed a ramp in the lower levels to intersect the main Guitarra vein, and in the process of doing that, we got an extension to it, another vein, Guitarra Perdida. And because of what's gone on in Donceñas above us, we've extended that initial crosscut into the Guitarra out into where Donceñas is, and it wasn't part of the resources. It wasn't even recognized as being there in the past. And lo and behold, we also have D2. So it's really, we've been quite pleasantly surprised in that. So I'm not sure how much that ratio is going to change. Starting in 2026, we plan on doing all fresh ore, but still a healthy percentage of that is going to come from outside of the existing resources. And that's it's quite common in this type of mine, this type of epithermal system. So no, yeah, long and short of it.
Thank you. And I see a question here about exploration. Does Tierra Madre have any plans for exploration at any of the assets this year?
Well, I mean, we're doing exploration right now in these new veins that we found. So, but that exploration is going right into the mill. In terms of drilling, now we don't have a drilling program planned. We've got about 58 pads that are fully permitted in the West District. These are the Guitarra, Colosso area and some other vein systems that are there, Las Palmas, Las Incas. But the real focus, once we do start a true exploration program, is going to be the East District. That's the real jewel in this entire land package. It covers a very large old colonial district that historically had some very high-grade production. The last mine in production over there closed down in 1935, I believe it was. And for 20 years, it averaged 6.5 grams gold and 860 grams silver. So that's the kind of prize we have our eye on finding over there. But yeah, I think it's as soon as we get the sufficient money, either pay for it out of cash flow. But that's one thing we want to do is keep our focus right now is on the mine. And then we'll keep moving out from there as we can afford it.
Gotcha. Alex, you're on mute again. Sorry.
Sorry. I think the next bit of capital that we bring in out of cash flows will really be focused on the mill, as Greg said, on expansion. There's a really great opportunity towards the end of this year, depending on cash flow situation, to hopefully increase throughput in the mill. Increasing throughput should theoretically lower costs, but also increase revenues, which would be great. And then the next step after that would be exploration. So we really want to give it a proper pass. I think once we had an extra $3 million US or so ready to go, that would be the budget for the first exploration program. And as Greg mentioned, they would definitely be focused on our East District. We really love, the exploration upside that we have here, and that would give us about 20 to 25,000 meters of drilling. So a really positive first pass, and then of course we would grow the program from there, depending on success.
Makes sense. Thank you. So you touched on the expansion. Can you walk us through a little bit what that would look like? Would you need any additional mines? What would need to happen on the plant side? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so a couple things on that. I guess we have a bit of optionality, which is great. The plant itself, currently the ball mills are about 516 tons per day. The crushing circuit's 640, give or take. And then the flotation cells are actually good for about 1,200 tons per day. So as Greg mentioned earlier, we're bringing on a second circuit to scrub some of the other material to bring in higher grades. So the ability to upgrade the plant is relatively straightforward. We do have a bit of optionality there. We could add in another ball mill, let's say a 400 ton per day ball mill, that would alleviate that bottleneck, and even a secondary crusher as well, which we're looking at right now. So we're going through a couple options, a couple feasibility style sessions we're going through internally, and it looks quite positive. So for a minimal capital outlay, we're talking $1 million up to $3 million US. We feel we can increase throughput significantly, whether that's 30% start, and then growing that number up. I think eventually we'd like to get to 12 to 1,500 tons per day, which at current grades and what we're processing would get us close to 2.5 to 3 million ounces of silver, which would be, I think, quite significant. So that's a ways off, but I think we could have some sort of plant expansion news sometime this year, if all goes well. And then, as things progress and as we're able to, have development on the ground, bring out material, we'll be able to, hopefully increase that even further into 2027 and hopefully beyond.
Got it. And then touching on tailings, can you give us a sense of how much runway is left at the existing facility, and kind of how much in terms of years or tons you can sustain the current facility before you need to look at a new one?
Well, we just had a qualified.
We should be careful on some disclosure, Greg.
Yeah.
So currently, yeah, we have a couple of years runway right now. We also have a fully permitted paste backfill that we can use. And there's over 50 kilometers of underground working. So a lot of space that we can put materials underground. So it would just be a matter of building that out. You know, it's about $1 million for that facility. Again, you know, we would probably do that right around the same time as the expansion plan would be for, you know, later this year. So we're pretty confident with our tailings. You know, we're working on a few other things as well. So hopefully we'll have some really positive news on, you know, tailings expansion even further. And again, we do have a 5.7 million ton permitted tailings facility. So really, really large. You know, that's, you know, 7 to 10 years of space that is permitted. And we just have to build that out again. You know, that would cost a good amount of money. So we're looking at ways to perhaps push that off even further down the road. But it is permitted, and, you know, we're quite comfortable with where we're at right now.
Got it. Thank you. And just one last mining question. Can you remind us of what mining methods you're using at Guitarra and Colosso? And when could this transition to more of a bulk mining?
Pretty much standard cut and fill, a little bit of shrinkage, and long hole. The long hole we use on veins that are wider than about 3 meters. The Los Angeles bulk tonnage resource is contained in a ore body that's where it can get well over 20 meters wide. Again, that would be long hole. That will bring online as soon as we've completed the mill capacity expansions. It needs economies of scale to really kick in. But yeah, that'll come on about, we hit 800 tons thereabouts a day to 1,000.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. And then just touching on the resource, how long could the current resource sustain the current mining rates?
Well, because we didn't do a feasibility study, we don't have reserves, but the indicated resource is about 3.8 million tons. And so let's just say offhand, you can convert 30% of it, or 70% of that into to be mined. That give you 2.6 million tons. And 1,000 tons a day, that would be good for 7 years. Doesn't even count the inferred, nor does it count any of these new resources that we're finding. So just the current resource base there at Guitarra Colosso will bring Nazareno online. We're already over there. It's connected to Colosso, but yeah, I think that's a long ways out in any mining scenario.
Got it. Thank you. And you know, you just had your first quarter of commercial production. You're generating cash. You do have the loan from First Majestic. Can you give us a sense of when these loan payments are due?
Yeah, so as of right now, we just make interest payments, and it's $62,500 US a month, and we've been making those payments steadily. The lump sum currently is due in just over a year, so towards the end of May of 2026. So we're very, very conscious of that. Again, we would have never taken that loan out unless we were very confident we'd be able to obviously pay that. So yeah, that's the plan, is to pay it next year. It's kind of due in one lump sum, which is great. We could also pay it back early and save on interest charges. So we have a bit of optionality there. But in essence, it's due currently at the end of May of 2026.
Got it. Thank you. And are you looking at making any changes to the company's portfolio?
Always. Yeah, Greg is... we're actively looking, actively chatting. You know, La Guitarra is a special asset, so we're really focused on that. But if there was a way to build a mid-tier silver, you know, gold producer in Mexico, we would really like to do that. I think Greg has well over 400 projects just in Mexico that we're actively monitoring. We chat with some of the majors, some of the bigger companies all the time, looking at various opportunities. There's some neat ones out there. Things have got a little bit more expensive as the price of silver and gold goes up, but that's good. That's what we want. So we would never make an acquisition unless we felt it was very, very accretive, but we're always looking. So we have people pitching us projects, private companies, lots of interesting things. So we'd look for something similar to La Guitarra. I don't know if we could find something as opportunistic and as potential as La Guitarra has, but I think we can add on similar style projects, which would enhance the portfolio down the road. But again, if we're unable to do that, I think La Guitarra is a wonderful project.
Got it. Yeah, no, definitely set the bar high, pretty high. And who are your major shareholders? Do you know if there's been any change to the First Majestic position?
Yeah, no, they're by far our largest shareholder. There's been no change there. They own 44.5%, and again, being extraordinarily supportive. Management is the next, and founders. We own about 25%, which is a huge amount. Greg, myself, and our CFO have invested over $3 million personally into the company, which, especially at this stage, to still have close to 25% of the company, it's pretty amazing. Next would be Commodity Capital. They're a large fund out of Europe. They own a good chunk of us as well, and then a few other funds out of Europe and Australia. And then the rest is high net worth. So we've got 40 to 45 million shares, I would say, in the float outside of management, founders, and First Majestic. Our volumes have picked up. I think we ran some numbers, and since September, we're trading pretty well, a couple 100,000 shares a day on average, which is a decent number. Obviously, we want to make that larger. We will. We haven't done much marketing, to be honest. We've done a couple of road shows here and there, but we will, especially the price of gold and silver. It's probably getting time to tell that story a little bit more. I think we're in a position where our story is resonating. Again, we're growing. We're expecting accelerating revenues for Q2 and Q3. So it's probably a good time to go out and start to tell the story a little bit more. And I think we'll be doing that shortly. So hopefully we'll be able to diversify the shareholder registry, moving forward, which is always a good thing.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Greg. I don't see any further questions. Was there anything else either one of you wanted to cover today?
Not for me. No, just really, we're pretty happy with the progress so far. I've been blown away by Greg and the technical team and the great job they've done. Financially, we're very comfortable. Mexico, I think, is actually starting to take a little bit of a positive turn here as well. The current regime has been really pro mining here for the last little while, pro business. I think a lot of the tariff talks and things like that have made countries more focused on internally and what they can do to increase GDP and revenues and all that good stuff. So I think there should be some more positive news in Mexico, just on permitting and seeing these projects that have been waiting for permits coming on. And what I've also noticed is a lot of larger funds and investors were a little bit hesitant in Mexico before with the previous regime, and would there be ban mining or no new permits issued. But I think that's kind of being alleviated, and we're seeing some capital now come back into Mexico, which is what you want, which is great. So I think Mexico is a wonderful place to be, and if you want silver, it's the largest producer of silver, so that's where we're focused.
Got it. Thank you. Well, congrats on the first quarter. We will definitely be looking forward to the news coming up for the next few months. If anybody has any other questions or would like a follow-up, please email info@adcap.ca. And with that, have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Magda.
Thanks, Greg.